Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Hi, it's John Mayfield with Global Real Estate School, and thank you so much for joining. I have a very special guest and a good friend of mine, Beverly Taki. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly,
you sure
Beverly.
Did.
Okay,
Great
good.
to be with you, John.
You know, thank you. And so we're going to talk about multi-state licensing.
Oh my gosh, it's such a thrill to join you, John, and to talk about a subject that's really important to me because I created a whole lifestyle around working in 2 states.
That is so interesting, and I think one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast is sometimes as business professionals, and that's what we are, or as real estate agents, we kind of think of ourselves too small or too narrow, and we think, oh gosh, I can only sell real estate in my little town or community. But many of our members have connections in other parts of the country. And so you actually have taken that and said, I'm going to be a real estate agent in Missouri and California. How did that all transpire, or what brought that about?
Well, actually, I started this journey 10 years ago. So I feel like I'm a little bit ahead of my time, because now after the COVID situation, we have learned that we can work on a sofa with a laptop,
Actually, yeah, virtually anywhere.
Anywhere. But I started this 10 years ago. Now, let me state that I am a broker in 2 states, Missouri and in California. But for your audience, even if you're just a licensed salesperson, you could still be a licensed salesperson in 2 states. You would just have to associate with a broker.
Exactly right. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Right.
So, what happens? Just walk us through a scenario. You're in Missouri, in St. Louis. And by the way, we're at the Missouri REALTORS conference. So if you hear some background noise, that's what's happening. And we encourage you to get involved with Missouri REALTORS. That's how I met Beverly, was through Missouri REALTORS. But walk us through the scenario. You have somebody that calls you from California. Do you have someone there who kind of assists you when you're not in California?
Okay, well, first of all, it takes some coordination and some challenge, but I've made it work for 10 years. I have 2 cell phones. So I have a 314 phone number and I have a 310 phone number. So I know kind of who's calling me from the phone.
Okay, now that's a great, I had not thought about that, and probably you have 2 cell phones. I actually now have my office phone, and I work virtually from home, but I have an office phone through Verizon, not that I'm giving them any kind of publicity, but I have an app on my phone, so that phone number actually will ring on my phone. So I guess for our listeners, with technology today, if you have the right setup, you could have an app where you could look down and see. And I hadn't really thought about that till you mentioned it.
Well, that's part of the key to my success because they can relate to me. They don't think they're calling somewhere.
Exactly.
And what I have to do is study weather reports and political reports, because if someone from California calls me and I'm in Missouri and they go, oh, it's raining today, I have to go, oh yeah, it's raining in Malibu too.
Okay,
I have to pretend. I'm not deceptive, but I do not tell people where I am, because like you said, when you were president of the whole state, you might have been, in Kansas City or New York or California for a conference. And so when customers call, you want them to feel like you're really doing your job for them.
Right, and people do, they're concerned about that. It's funny that you say that, and one of the times I was teaching in Dubai, and this was before many of the phone companies had international plans, and it was very expensive. So I had a Google phone number, and I forwarded that to my Google Voice And so when I was in Dubai, people would call me and it would ring on my iPad through the Google app, and I would say, "Hello, Mayfield Real Estate, how can I help you?" And no one ever knew I was in Dubai.
That's right.
But I was able to take their call and be attentive to their needs. So that's a great point, and you have to know what's going on politically and with the weather and other issues. But let's say that person. Do you have people on the ground in
Yes.
both places? I guess
you
you
need
can.
some boots on the ground in both cities. And also, once you establish a client relationship, then I might tell them that I'm going to California next week. And then they're very receptive to you. I mean, they might even show the property for me.
Right. And for me, I think as a consumer, I think I would be pretty impressed if I knew that you were a multi-state real estate broker. I mean, to me, it raises your level of knowledge. I've been talking a lot about authority marketing, and to me, it just raises that authority figure that you take real estate seriously. You're not just practicing in one location.
Well, I take real estate very seriously, and it's been a very good career for me. It's been a very good profession. I've never considered this as a part-time job. I consider myself a professional. And when you're licensed in both states, you have to study the laws of both states. You have to study the contracts.
Continuing education.
So I have to take continuing ed in California, continuing ed here in Missouri. I have to learn the forms, and we have form changes, usually in
Right.
December. I have to learn those. But I do think that I have a little bit more skill level because I'm studying two states, and I'm studying marketing and sales in both of the two
Right,
states.
exactly. And because the laws are very different in both states. Now, here's some trivia about Beverly. She's the only member in Missouri, the only member who not only lost her CEO, but gained a new CEO. She lost John Seabury when he left Missouri, but she also got him as a new CEO in California. So I thought that was pretty cool because we all miss John, but Beverly still has the privilege of having John as a CEO. And I mention that because you're not only involved with Missouri Realtors, but you attend California meetings as well.
Yes, I do. I'll be going there in February. And I'm on a couple of committees out there too in California. And yes, our good friend John Seabury, who served Missouri so well, and we all miss him. It is a real joy for me to see his face in California. And it's kind of like how the professional real estate world evolves.
Right.
When you know people in other states and areas, that's why being involved with NAR is important.
It is, yes.
You meet other people.
So, tell us why Global Real Estate School students should get involved with the Realtor organization. As you just mentioned, you meet people, you network. Is there other reasons why people need to get involved?
Well, I definitely want to relay to your students that is just part of being a professional realtor. I came here to Missouri. I got my broker's license. I could have just said, well, I'm a broker here, I'll sell a few things. But I went over to the St. Louis Association and joined there. I came to the Missouri meetings. I paid dues to come here because I was just in a risk management output group. And the things that you learn, and it sinks into your head sometimes a little bit more when you're in a discussion with people versus reading new laws and rules online.
Exactly.
And I just adore being around like-minded people, and I think it helps with your professional spirit.
Yes.
Because especially now, John, many of us are working more from home because COVID kind of created that lifestyle. So some of us are kind of by ourselves a lot. So to come to the Missouri conference here in Kansas City and to talk to people in little groups and, go to these meetings where they have question and answer, and you learn what other people are doing.
Exactly. And I feel the same way, and I thank you for sharing that. Now, you said, did you get your license in Missouri first?
No. I started in California.
Okay, started in California.
I've been like 35 years as a broker in California.
Okay, gotcha.
And I went through the ups and downs. And that's the other thing I want to accentuate to your listeners right now. Sometimes I'll go to California for a month or two and sell something, and then I'll come back to Missouri because the market shifts. So California might still be a little hot and selling, where Missouri might be a little slow, especially when our interest rates, because California is more of a cash purchase.
Right.
So they'll have more sales when Missouri might be lagging a little bit. So I'll go there and sell something, then I'll come here. So I feel like I have a broader scope to me, and that's what I'd like to share with your listeners. The broader that you can be in life, in any profession, the better.
Okay.
So, they always say that, the people with the most options are the most successful. So have more options. And I'm talking today about the states, being an agent in various states, but sometime I'd like to come on your show and talk about different areas of real estate, property management, vacation rentals. You don't just have to sell residential, you can sell commercial.
That's a great point. We actually are going to be doing that in a future podcast, so great points there. Well, here's just a little question I have to ask. Any famous movie stars you've done deals with?
Oh, gosh.
Or is that confidential information?
I have sold a lot of very expensive property, I will admit to that, but not actual celebrities.
Okay.
The celebrity type people, they typically go with their accountants and lawyers. A lot of them don't even use realtors. Their business managers take care of those things.
So what seems to be more challenging? Is it more paperwork in California, more paperwork in Missouri, or?
California has double, or I'd say triple, the paperwork that Missouri has.
Okay.
I think.
So even though they're a little higher priced properties, there's a little bit more involved in work.
They're very much more involved.
And a lot more competition, I'm sure.
More competition, but it's more of a litigious state too, where people tend to sue when they're not happy. So just like Missouri has a great legal department with Steve Graham and Robert Campbell, California has a legal department. So they're always writing new forms to protect the agents and to protect the customers as well.
Okay, great information. One last question, and I always ask this for a listener out there who's thinking, okay, selling real estate in 2 states sounds great, and I'd like to do that, but right now I'm trying to get my real estate career off the ground. What advice would you give to a new agent or someone who's just having a challenge, because you've been in the business a while? What advice would you tell someone? What should they do to just really, that would be the most beneficial advice you could give for them to help them with their real estate career?
Well, I'll tell you what advice I'll give them, because I'm taking my own advice. It's called back to the basics.
Okay. Good.
When I first became a licensed salesperson, we did the mailing, the postcards, the door knocking, reaching out, the touch, 8 touches,
right.
A year. And so I'm doing that again now, John.
And that's important.
After 35 years, I have to go back to the basics.
And I'm sure it's the same in California or Missouri. You just have to get out and hustle and do the basics. And
They created these basics years ago with the basic farm, like with your new students, your new licensees. They always taught us to have a social farm, maybe a neighborhood farm, maybe a celebrity farm, just a group of names and addresses
right.
that you focused on. That word farm I learned 35 years ago, and it's right now it's still an important term in real estate.
I love that, Beverly. Thank you so much. And by the way, be sure and go and listen to our previous podcast in January, Missouri Realtors January podcast with President Andrea Sheridan. She talked about social capital. It's a great interview, and it's something you need to be doing. And then go back a few episodes, again, the Missouri Realtors podcast, and look for the interview I did with Kim Hayden. She gives some great stuff about using, she calls them door hangers, but basic stuff that can help you grow your career. So thank you,
Very
Beverly.
basic. I really could talk all day because we haven't even gotten into the fact that I work California, Missouri, but right here in Missouri, you can work Missouri, Illinois, or Missouri, Arkansas.
Exactly.
Right across the border. And if you're a licensed sales agent, maybe your broker has an office in both states. Now, in my case, I had to create offices, but you might find a broker that has an office in Illinois, an office in Missouri. It's great. It's expanding your scope in the world.
Very good.
It makes you more valuable.
Great information. Well, Beverly, thank you so much. We'll have Beverly's contact information below, but I appreciate you sharing and encouraging real estate agents to know that, hey, it's possible to, the sky's the limit. Don't limit your field, and I appreciate you reminding that even might be just the state next door, Iowa, Oklahoma, Arkansas, but it could also be Texas, California, Hawaii. Don't limit yourself. You have to go through the licensing part, but after that, you can get your real estate license in another state and do real well.
Well, thank you for having me. I'd love to come back again, and if you have any students with specific questions, I'd love to talk to them as well.
Great. Thank you, Beverly. And Global Real Estate School students, don't forget, we can help you get your license in Hawaii, Florida, Oklahoma, Indiana, Virginia, South Dakota, Kansas, and yes, right here in Missouri. So multi-state. I have a lot of Missouri agents who are getting their Florida license through me, which is cool. But check us out, globalrealestateschool.com. We'd love to have you as a student. Beverly, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.